Hey everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It's about 4:45 on September 9th, 2014. Before we take a look, I just need to remind you that the website and the video are for educational purposes only. Nothing stated at the site or in the video is intended to be used as investment advice. I can draw lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research. And please, make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I'm not a licensed financial professional. I'm just a guy who draws lines on charts. So let's take a look. I mentioned in yesterday's video, we put a new line on the chart right here at about 1990. And just kind of made note that that could be a small neckline for a fairly small head and shoulders top. And with today's action, that looks to be a little more likely now than it did yesterday, because we came down for an initial bounce right at about 1990, but then broke through it. Now, before you get too excited about this breakdown, here's the conundrum. There is a slight conundrum here, and that is the fact that a target from this very small pattern is also the point at which we would ascribe to this breakdown the term technical significance. In other words, our target is roughly 1% underneath this neckline, which is at about the same point that we say to ourselves, yeah, we now have a breakdown. So it's such a small pattern. But looking at it and putting that little fine point aside, I think now it's probably pretty reasonable to be expecting something in the low 1970s in the next few days. Now, there is one other possibility here, and that is that we are in the process not of forming a top, but we're in the process of forming a bull flag. And let me point that out, because those last three lows line up very nicely, and they also line up almost exactly parallel to that line that we put on the chart yesterday. So this could really be one of two things. We are either dealing with a little top, which is going to take us down to 1970, or we're dealing with a bull flag pattern, which could still take us to 1970. Okay? The only difference really is this. And I think I'm going to do the same thing. That is, when we get over this line right here, that is our signal that however much downside we have is likely about to come to an end. So it's pretty simple. Here we are, still in the oval, and if we bet, because remember, we're looking at a potential inverted head and shoulders pattern here. We had a good bit of volatility over here on the left shoulder. Doesn't surprise me that we get a little volatility over here on the right shoulder either. But I still want to remind you, it's not a head and shoulders pattern yet. Okay, not until we break out over this line right here by a technically significant margin. Interesting to note, too, you don't see it on that first view, but we also sort of bounced today right on this teal line that had been on the chart coming into the day. We didn't bounce exactly on it, but very, very close. So just with that in mind, I think we have a reasonable expectation now of seeing the low 1970s. But whether we do or not, I think we also have a reasonable expectation that breaking this top green resistance line would be the signal that whatever size and duration this little leg down takes us, that breaking up over this resistance line would be our first sign that that selling is beginning to turn into buying, and we will likely be starting a new upwards trend. So guys, I think it's this has been something I've been saying a lot. I think it's pretty simple. We're still in that right shoulder kind of range, and we got to have a couple data points here that I think we can start to examine the range that's being set up, at least what appears so far, and defining it between these nearly almost parallel channel lines. So guys, there's your video for September 9th, 2014. Again, a little break under 1990, not by much. And again, if this is a little head and shoulders top, sadly, by the time we know for sure it is, it will have already reached its minimum downside target. So could it have a little more to go? Yeah, it could, but we've got some support lines down here too. But right now I'm still sort of I am still not sort of, but I am maintaining the potential for that inverted head and shoulders continuation pattern, because nothing I see so far negates that negates the potential for that pattern to complete and to break out. And the history of the S&P to form these things has been strong enough to where that's just sort of simply what I'm looking for. Could be wrong, but until the chart says nope, I would rather let history be the guide and say this is a strong likelihood. So guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for taking time out of your day, and especially thank you for your subscription to SP500chart.com.